And I keep changing. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Bushra. We will be talking to you again as well during the session. So I think we should formally start the session. I've started the recording. So shall we start, sir? All right. So yeah. Good evening to my respected speakers and participants, and a very warm welcome to all. I hope you all are doing well. Today is Friday, 15 July, and we are gathered here on International Virtual Conference on Museums for Youth Session 2022 by the title of Art Beyond Boundaries, which is mainly focused on highlighting the existing challenges in young artist art practices and the possibilities of stretching or exceeding the known limits in their artistic expressions. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Sana Durrani, member of ICOM and chairperson IVCOM Lahore. I'm a visual artist and art conservationist from Lahore, Pakistan, specialized in the field of painting conservation for over 5 years on different projects. Last year, I graduated from ICOM Collegia in Cultural Heritage Administration of Korea, course named Rethinking Disaster Risk Management for Cultural Heritage Collection. I will be moderating today's session, and thank you so much for joining. I'm so glad to see you all here. So as far as the objective of this conference is, today, the biggest challenge is for artists is to truly set themselves free, explore art or creativity without taking into consideration any restrictions or limitations. And it's a commonplace occurrence in every creative practitioner's journey now. In order to establish the importance of thinking out of the box, this visual conference will take a look at such obstacles that artists may have previously faced in finding creative solutions. And this can be further substantiated by sharing works and experiences of contemporary international artists who are pushing past traditional boundaries and have offered new definitions to art. And the objective is also to emphasize modern curatorial thinking, which also investigates how communities are responding to artists and art making today, as well as what kind of creative endeavors emerging technologies will enable in the near future, and whether there is a need for redefining the rules of artists in response to our fast changing turbulent times. So for this purpose, we have gathered professionals here today who are very deeply concerned with this thought and will be sharing their accumulated knowledge with us today. But before I take the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, I would like to thank International Council of Museum Pakistan, ICOM Family Forum, and especially Mr. Muhammad Akhtar Javed for all his hard work in establishing this forum and giving me this opportunity to arrange this conference. So thank you so much once again. Now, with great pleasure, I would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Salima Hashmi, celebrated artist, curator, gallerist, and a contemporary art historian of Pakistan. She was the founding dean of the Mariam Daud School of Visual Art and Design at Beacon House National University, Lahore, and has also served as the principal National College of Arts, Lahore. She has received the Pride of Performance Award for her services to the nation and is also a council member of the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad, and I would ask you and I would request you to can you please share your valuable thoughts about this agenda, and what is your opinion on such artists' practices which has brought about a change by incorporating different art forms through technology, cultures, and traditions?
Thank you so much, Sana, and thank you all of you for joining from various places. Some of the names whom I recognize as being from very far away, and some nearer home. Well, I think you posed a very interesting question at this moment in time, because what we are looking at is something in art practices which actually has been worrying museums for even a longer period of time. Because like museums, the art world too today is questioning its role in public life and in the life of communities. More importantly, in recent years, all as public spending becomes more and more sparse for all aspects of culture across the globe, we do have to ask questions about the impact that art has on the lives of people. not those who go to galleries. We know all those. But not those who are in the position to buy art or collect art, but ordinary people, whose existence is often overlooked when we talk of art making and art practices. And that's something that for the last few decades, museums have also been concerned with. And they've been looking to be far more proactive in all kinds of related fields, in education, in giving people experiences, in outreaches which have to do with activism. And so artists over the past 2 decades have been asking themselves about changing practices and mediums. And from these reflections, from these discussions between artists, there have sprung a lot of collaborations between artists and artisans, between groups of artists, and groups of artists joining up with poets, with musicians, with anthropologists, and others, and looking at what they should be doing in the world today. So they're no longer separate from their communities and are much more meaningful in their role for the larger community, who never, as I said, never enter a museum or a gallery. So let's look at first is what's happening in Pakistan, then let's look at what's been happening elsewhere. And especially like right now, when the world is a very turbulent place. So I want to first share with you some things, some initiatives that have been happening, and I'll just share the screen and see what we're looking at. Well, the Vassal Artists Collective in Karachi was one of the first really that looked at playing a role. And here we've just got an image of them working with the Orangi pilot project. It was a workshop which was called Takhliqi Salahiyatein, and it was for different groups in the Orangi pilot project. We had women, we had groups of men, we had a number of people who normally never think of themselves as being creative, but being led into a situation in which they enjoyed what they were doing. This is Adila Suleiman, who was leading this critical and creative thinking workshop. We have then, they invited the international artists, often are part of the international collective at Vassal, and they shared their expertise and their skills with the children in Karachi who come from underprivileged backgrounds and probably would never have the chance to meet these artists and never to pick up these skills, which are a whole repertoire of skills. And thus you find that they do all kinds of things. This was a particular one in which there was a poster campaign that children learned. And it was a series, exhibition series, ended in an exhibition called Janch Partal in 2018. This is just an image at Morapur, where the exhibition was held with a young boy who took part in it. And in Lahore, there has been in recent years another initiative, a collaborative initiative between artists, between anthropologists, between writers, between activists of all kinds and intellectuals who wanted to make intervention in public spaces so that people could really go along with them and that thinking could be in line with these people who were asking questions. So this was a project they did, which was called Hum Jo Tarik Rahon Mein Mare Gaye. And it was the result of a few months of extensive research to find out the extent of violence in Pakistan over 30 years, 1987 to 30 years later. They're looking at violence that took place because of sectarian reasons, violence that took place because of gender action against women, violence that took place because of terrorism, violence that took place for a number of reasons in the public realm. And what they did was that they researched, they found out, they made the cuttings from just newspaper reportage. And then they reproduce that reportage on these buntings, we call them, which are usually for, signs of enjoyment, of having a good time. They're at weddings, at public meetings, at children's fairs, at melas. Except when you go closely to these buntings, what do you read? You read about the headlines that are telling you about the death of so-and-so, about a bomb going up in a mosque, about the numbers dead in the streets, whether it's in Peshawar or whether it's in the tribal districts or whether it's in Karachi or small towns or Balochistan. And you get an idea of what has been happening in the public domain. And it's a shock when you see them all strung together. And it's not what you expect to read in a public park. So in a sense, people were being invited in by artists and anthropologists to ponder on the degradation that had happened in the area of law and order over 3 decades in Pakistan. The artist's job is not only to delight. The artist's job is also to make people think, to assimilate what is modern history, which is happening to them as they go along. And so there were people, and this is a public park, open to everybody. So in the evening, a whole lot of the city goes there for a walk, and they first are attracted to something that seems like fun until they get into it, and then they see what it's all about. So this is a sort of view from the top, and you can see exactly where it was in the Bagh-e-China in Lahore, and the fact that anybody and everybody was walking through it to get a feeling of what this intervention was about. And this, I'm going to show you a totally different project that the Awami Art Collective did. Very, very different. This was about Basant. Those who are now of much older age, they remember Basant as this joyous, wondrous experience that we all had come spring. And it was the beginning of spring, and Lahoris in particular became so well known internationally, the way they gave themselves wholeheartedly to the celebration of spring. And you had, music on the rooftops, not only during the day, but all night long, with lights and with, people enjoying themselves and singing and flying kites at night. Well, as we know, that was all banned. And then the Awami Art Collective decided to remind the people of the walled city of what had once been their festival. So they worked with the communities, a particular area, and told them, okay, so how about, we can't fly kites, but can we sing? Can we put out lights? Can we remember Basant? And this they did by giving out these, these lights, which are in these sort of strips. And they gave them to people and said, okay, let's pretend that it's a real Basant. We won't fly kites, but we will sing, we will dance, we will have the lights, we will invite our friends, we will have a spring, even though it's a black spring. The roses are black, they're no longer red. And this is what they did in 2016. And I went there to this part of the old city, and it was magical. It was magical because there was music on the rooftops. There was a noise of people enjoying themselves. There were these parathas going up to the roofs to eat with their friends and remember that at one time it was a community which celebrated the coming of spring. So the Awami Art Collective intervened in this public space and gave people a feeling of enjoyment and a reminder that this was your festival and you have a right to reclaim it. So in a sense, it is being an activist artist position. So it's being a historian, it's making the event, but also perhaps leaving behind a feeling that people can change their lives if they so desire. There are many other kinds of collectives. There is, for example, in Lahore, an initiative of two young women, Sabine Jamil and Mary Mirza, who have a passion for both for art and for literature. And they have a small organization called Mantik of the Mantis, which is a delightful name. And they get together, they do readings, they show films, they make books, handmade as well as printed. It is a coming together of people who love and enjoy the written word, but also the visual. So it is a small collective, but a collective with great passion within it, and of with the idea that okay, they want this passion to be to spread, and it should be like a bacteria that can spread among people. So this is a another kind of an artistic and literary initiative. There is the emergence of performance art, and I believe that the way that certain practitioners are doing it, they're doing it so that it is open to interpretation, but it is also something in which the artist puts themselves out there in the community and sees how people react and what they think about it. This is an initiative done by Natasha Josie, who's a performer herself, but also a curator. It was called House. And she worked intensively with artists, and they decided to do performances across the city in very different positions, in very different situations. The artist then, it's not a dramatic act. It's a carefully thought out artistic endeavor. And this is something unusual, something that is thoughtful, something that seeks to draw their attention to their own lives and to the environment. And here we have some images of the participants of House. And you can see it's in very different situations, different people participating. I'd like to today to especially talk about a recent experience in which some of the ideas that I've talked about were presented in this big exhibition, which is called Documenta, which happens every 5 years in Kassel in Germany. And it is considered one of the most important exhibitions in contemporary art. Every time they explore new ideas, they bring together artists from all over the world. They are brought together with curators, any number of mediums, materials, new thinking, technology, some of the things that you were mentioning. But this year was different. It was different because there was not a single curator, which usually is. That's the ritual. That's a tradition. You have a single curator who then envisages this, or you have a group of one or two curators, curator, co-curator, who work on the theme and then they invite artists to participate. This time it was a collective which was given this responsibility. A collective who's been working for more than 25 years, 30 years almost, in Jakarta. It's called Ruang Rupa. And they don't go by single names, the main people who are the movers and shakers within the group. They insist that they are recognized as a team. And they don't really, even though of course there are one or two who are more prominent within the group, but they don't like to be known by that. And I was lucky enough this summer to be there just after it opened, in fact, the day after it opened. I saw for myself what this radical shift was all about. And it, to a great extent, changed my view of some of the things that I had taken for granted in terms of the artist's role, in terms of how artists actually make their work, how artists should present themselves, how curators decide what artists need to be shown to the public, how the public responds to exhibitions. So many of these things that I had thought about over many, many years of my work, both as an artist and as a curator and as an educator, were totally altered by the experience of being in Castle, in Documenta 15 in Castle 2022. Because for the first time, really, I can honestly say, I had a feeling that art was about us and not about me, not about him, not about her, not about them, but about us. It was, it was a way of contemplating art in the world and pushing the definitions that we've grown up with and really take art beyond boundaries, which was the theme of today's talk. And they had a concept. And this is some of the things, the text that was around. That there are different ways and practices of producing art works. And these practices are not yet visible, as they do not fit into those existing parameters of the global art world. Documenta 15 is an attempt to do something, bring these different realities together and sharing the idea that differences are possible. And what was it? Well, for a start, look at the way that the furniture in one area was put together. It was done with the absolute basics, with no niceties, no thought that you have to be neat, you have to do this, you have to do that. No, it was functional, it was there. It worked for that particular area. And this collective, which was started in 2000 in Jakarta, really started thinking about what they have, something they call lumbang. Lumbang is a word which is used in Indonesia for a rice barn in which the rice is stored of a village. And all the rice is put there when the harvest takes place, and it's managed collectively. And it's to safeguard the community from uncertain situations. So it's make sure that everybody has enough. And also if there is some, calamity, that people will not be looking for food, that there will be something and they will survive. And this collective developed slowly, taking shape, learning from experience. And then they discovered that other collectives could be added to them. And that is how they decided when they were asked to be curators of Documenta 15, they decided, okay, we're going to go around the world, select collectives, but they will not be the only collectives in Documenta. Those collectives can invite other collectives, and it will be like a growing organism. And that is a wonderful thing about this Documenta 15, that you felt that it was almost the whole world's artists who worked together in communities and had very different roles. They could actually come together and almost take over a city, and the city could welcome them. And therefore, when you went there, you found that, okay, even the poorest of the poor communities can get together and make imagery and make certain environments in which things can happen. And everywhere there was the idea, okay, you do it together. So the artist does not stand apart from the community, but is very much inside the community and is an instigator. And therefore, when they say, okay, there are different ways of producing art, which will create different works, which in turn ask for different ways of being read and understood. And we see how they're functioning in real lives in their respective contexts. And they're no longer about mere individual expression. They don't need to be exhibited as standalone objects or sold to individual collectors or given to state-funded museums who only collect in a particular way. Other ways are possible. And we are resisting the domestication or taming of these different practices. And everywhere you went, you found these very informal texts, which sort of invited you to think. And there were little pieces that told you as to what you could do. Our goal is to respect and honor everyone's humanity in the space, like using people's chosen free pronoun. I mean, instead of he and she, you call them the. And then who has the right to enter the art academy? Do you think it really is for everyone? Because they kept pointing out art education is so expensive in parts of the world. So it's really becomes a very elitist activity, if you think of it. Only those who can pay can get art education. Why is that considered normal? It should be considered abnormal. And then you had different kinds of materials from different parts of the world. There were so many different collectives. It was, when Documenta was, when um, uh, these people, Rombong was asked to make a proposal for the 15th edition, they decided that we are not going to change what we do. We are going to get other people to look at what we do. And we are not going to be exploited by European institutional these agendas, because, all big exhibitions and biennales and triennales are very focused on their own agenda. Because they said, these are not our agendas. We are going to find collectives which are like us, and they practice the ideas of the Lombong, the Burn, that collectively. And then they asked, various collectives that, who work with communities to say, okay, we are giving up our authorship, we're giving up our ownership, and we are going to practice aesthetics differently. So that was what was so exciting. And then, they was asking this question that where is the art? Where does it really happen? Where does it make a difference to people's lives? And everywhere there were these things which made you think. So whether it was an African collective, like the one in Niger, or which was very closely connected to performances and making objects that were part of performances, nobody would say, oh, this is folk art. No, this is living art, which is made by people and which is enjoyed by people and which becomes part of people's lives. And so you had all over. You had from very different parts of the world. You had these objects with which you stayed, you watched the videos, you saw how different collectives dealt with them, and they made you, whether it was shiny balloons all over the place, whether it was this majestic, this is the Central Museum of Kassel, and you look at the way that it has been taken over, and you marvel at the fact that, okay, it is hosting things that it would never have hosted before. And you look at it and you wonder at the communities that produce this work, which is never going to be bought by museums. It's going to remain a part of the people. So then, the Biennale in Haiti, which is called the Ghetto Biennale, okay, because it comes out of ghettos. So the question that the curator of that Biennale asked, what happens when first world art rubs up against third world art? Does it bleed? And it confronts the inequality which is there in the art world and the art market. And it demands that you look at the work that ordinary people do, made from scraps. And now every year there's the Ghetto Biennale in Haiti. And it is one of the poorest countries of the world, the most devastated. And that great earthquake that happened, in which killed hundreds of people, and the endemic it had, with cholera and whatnot. And then you look at the work, and it's all made from what these artists pick up from the streets, from the junk that's thrown up. They open up the cars and trucks that are just lying, and then they make work, which is astounding, which is macabre. I must tell you that those who know, of course, that the religion in Haiti is voodoo. And it has very much to do things like, with black magic. But it was at one time connected to the Roman Catholic Church. And so what did this documenta do? It offered them a church to place this exhibit in. And it was the most astounding revolution, when you walked into the church and you saw these voodoo works all over the place, and you could not but admire the fact, the braveness, I'd say the courage of both the community in Castle and of course, the curators, the collective, and also the way that the audience responded. I mean, I found this one of the most moving parts of all of Documenta. You just kept looking at works made from, even from dead bodies, because you can imagine after the earthquake, as you know, they were on the surface of the earth. And they were made from found objects, things that had humor. And you can see how they carefully juxtapose them with things that were already in the church. And there was no outcry that, oh, the church is being desecrated. No, it was about belief. It was about humanity. It was about poverty. It was about the world, which is a sad world, and how we protect ourselves against that sadness by making art. And walking away from that exhibit, that portion of Castle, made me so happy, and somehow it was tremendously peaceful. The Roma community, the gypsies were always the outcasts all over Europe. And they had given, the community, a collective of the Roma community, the space and the opportunity to show works that they made from scraps of material, to show works about their journeys, which were colorful, which were wonderful, and were about how they lived. Another astounding image was the tent embassy. It was the Aboriginal tent embassy, which celebrated its 50th year, 50th anniversary. It's 50 long years of resistance that the First Nations set up under a beach umbrella in front of the Parliament House in Canberra, in Australia. Since 1972, the tent embassy has inspired camps across the continent who struggle to say, this land is our land. It has been taken from us. So it's called the Aboriginal Embassy. And it was quite humorous in the way that they put it out. There's no anger, there's patience, there's humor, and it's also activism. When you look at, there were any number of archival materials there. There were Black archives, there were women's archives from Algeria, there were archives from Thailand, which were also part of the Asian archives, putting out archives that they have collected from all over Asia. I did a talk on art schools of Pakistan, and in the audience were people from who had been old students from Afghanistan, from Sri Lanka, from Bangladesh, from Nepal, and it was a joy to see them come together. And they were so enthralled by what they were saying. How do we avoid falling into the trap of feeling the need to justify our art praxis by utilizing inherited or foreign formal or conceptual languages? There was a desire to connect with what is real, what people's lives are all about. And as we look at these, you cannot but be so deeply inspired by both the courage of the curators and their courage in the face of something that happened later, which was that the Palestinian question was attacked and they had to take away one banner because, the right wing said it was anti-Semitic, which was nonsense. And they pressurized some artists to withdraw, and one artist from Korea withdrew from Documenta. It just goes to show that the art world is reluctant, the traditional art world is reluctant to accept that this is a possibility, this is a possible path for art, artists, and communities to follow. The same week, and this is something that a lot of people at Documenta commented on it, the same week Art Basel opened, which is of course a symbol of commercialism. I don't like to call it that, but anyway, it's symbolic of the big business that art is in the world. And therefore, when we talk about art today, we must understand that the responsibilities are very different to the ones that we have been thinking about, the ones we have been trained for, and the ones that today artists are thinking about and redefining themselves as individuals and shrinking that definition down to being just one person who has a very small role to play in a huge, large, sprawling community. They can be valuable, but only if they impact that community, only if they embrace that community, only if they can truly feel that they emerge from the community and that they do something for the community to make their lives more whole, happier, more meaningful, more pleasurable, and hopefully work towards end of conflict and the beginning of a peaceful world. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Ma'am Ashmi. It was really great, and thank you so much for sharing these wonderful examples and for highlighting such important and informative aspects for thinking out of the box. I would now ask our participants if they would like to contribute or have any questions for Ma'am Hashmi. All right, so if not, then I would request Ma'am Nazish, if she's here with us, to yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, everybody.
How are you?
Hello. Let me just. I raised my hand after that really illuminating, fantastic talk by Professor Harshmi, and of her recent experiences, and then, of course, against the backdrop of what has been going on in our part of the world. And it's so wonderful to see so many of my former students and artists and who are in the audience today. I don't know whether I can really add very much to what Mrs. Hashmi has been showing us, because I think that, I would like to just say a few words about Pakistan and how very slowly some things that she has referred to, that the communities that were built up within the art schools in Pakistan, in the various art schools, starting with the National College of Arts and Karachi University, Karachi School of Art, Beacon House National University, School of Visual Art and Design, and many other institutions. If I were to start taking their names, then that would really be very long. But what has happened is that these communities have been developed, and they are developing, and they are extending beyond the borders of the institutions. And in a similar way, the role of the museums is actually extending beyond those traditional borders within which we went to the museum as a house of wonders and just looked at objects that were in cabinets and tried to put dates to them and tried to understand them a more from the historical, anthropological, their connections, rather than the possibility of these museums being really living buildings, and everything within the museum being very much part of another kind of a community. And so if we talk of these big communities and we move out, as we have seen, as she has shown, into into our gardens, our parks, our cities, and we have had artists from all over the world participate in biennales, which is something rather recent in Pakistan. We have had some very exceptional exhibitions that have connected East to West, And we have given an insight into what we are all about and where we are located to audiences that have never even traveled over here. Um, Apart from that, I think that what I'd like to say is that the communities that she is referring to have moved away from what were the commodification of art in a sense, as she has indicated, has become something which is now in the realm of the art fairs, and sometimes even beyond the art fairs actually manage to do a lot of other exciting collateral events even when the fairs are on. But these exceptional exhibitions such as Documenta that happen once in 5 years, drawing really people with their concerns, with all form of concerns of, as she said, and as I reiterate, of those concerns which are not just formal, there are no boundaries any longer. All those boundaries have been blurred. And I think that is what is very exciting, that we have artists and historians and anthropologists and writers and poets and filmmakers and etc., all coming together in their own way and adding to the lives of the communities that actually get the opportunity to go and look at what is happening. So the museum is today something that stretches across cities, that has its expanse has really, really altered. And like cities, there's all kinds of work that's happening. There are those things that happen behind, in research, little libraries and in within institutions, in the little carrels where people sit and observe objects and observe what is going on. And then there are places where people are actually dreaming, and they're dreaming of how they can connect the community, the larger community, with what is happening and using the museum as a platform. So that's all I have to add. And thank you ever so much. I really, really enjoyed listening to you.
Well, thank you so much, Ma'am Nazish. Now we have Ms. Shanza Elahi. She also wants to add something. So Ms. Shanza, please go on. Ms. Shanza, can you hear me? You're muted. Can you please open your mic?
Hello.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum, Hashmi. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. I don't have more of a question. Actually, there are two things. I think listening to Ma'am Nazish and listening to you as well, and one of the things that you showed us in your presentation was about Black Spring. And that kind of made me think about also museums in transition, so to speak, because I remember once Ms. Farida Batul told me of how the communities actually took away the lights and kind of started using them for themselves. So it's something that's always transitioning into something else and then something else, versus having one single platform or roof where you place objects together. That was one of the things that was popping into my head. And another thing that popped into my head was actually a conversation that we had many, many years ago when I was doing my research and I came to you. And it's something that you pointed me towards about Pakistani communities and thinking about art in terms of the awam and like politics and political rallies, and how we already have these forms of celebration, and we have these artworks that are already open to the public. And I was wondering if you could speak a bit more about that, because it's been a long time since you mentioned that. And for me personally, that was very inspiring when I came to you and opened my mind up when I was thinking about public art or artworks in public spaces. But that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shanza. Yes, very quickly, because everybody is there to speak. Yes, the people were happy with the lights. And I'm very glad that they were happy with the lights, because I think it's not enough for the people who were the Army Art Collective to be instigating that, but also to understand that you're working with real people. You're not working with theoretical lot. And they have their demands and they have their lives. And whatever they take away from the experience is something that tells you something about them. That they want lights, they want something to decorate their house with. And if they're getting this thing, why not? And they were delighted when they had that. And yes, I think that the problem with our labels for art is that we consider things that are in galleries and museums as art. And of course, that's not so. All human beings need art, and we don't call it art. You know that since the time the Homo sapiens were working on the walls of their caves, there was a need to make marks with meaning. And that remains today, whether it's a public poster to say, this Khan or that Sharif is, a tiger or a whatever, and to make these sort of amazing flights of fancy that go onto walls. It's because, that the exuberance of that belief or faith or whatever takes a particular form. And one has seen the most amazing permutations and combinations that come out of political rallies, that come out of shrines, all the collectives that people have, and they make things that are art, they're symbolic, and very often made with very cheap materials, because that is all that is required. They're very temporary, and then they disappear, but they remain here. They remain in our collective memories. And I think understanding them, documenting them, respecting what they mean for different people is one of the things that artists can do. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am. Now, to carry on this discussion, I would like to now introduce our second panelist, Ms. Libatul, who is based in Lahore, holds Masters in Art and Design and Art and Design Studies degree, and also UMISA alumni from BNU Lahore, Pakistan. She's an educationist, jewelry designer, recipient of various scholarships and awards, exhibited jewelry as sculpture at galleries in Spain, France, Bangkok, Dubai, USA, and Pakistan. She's here today in capacity of President South Asian Foundation Scholars Alumni Association, SAFSAA, and UMISA representative from Pakistan, extending services in particular for regional cooperation amongst diverse cultural representation from all SAARC countries in SAF institutions. So welcome, Zil. Shall we proceed with the introductions to the young artist of South Asia? And I would also like to ask, what is UMISA in relation with today's South Asian art? Over to you, Zil.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Ma'am Hashmi, for the wonderful presentation. Okay, so let's just start with the presentation that I have prepared for you people. Give me a second, please. Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so South Asia and the New Art Age was a topic I chose to talk about. And in particular, in relation with UMISA, why is that? Because I thought that, there has been a great change we brought in through UMISA, and UNESCO Madanjeet Singh Institute of South Asian Art has been contributed a lot over the period of time. And now we have produced a good strength of, emerging artists in the South Asia. So for the overview of UMISA, I'm going to show you a short video which I prepared for this session. Let me show you the video. Sorry. Yes. Sorry, my computer is lagging behind, but
So are you unable to change the slide, or what's happening?
I think she's trying to play a video.
Oh, sorry, I think there's something wrong with the, sorry.
No problem.
Let me show you from the start.
It is Institute of Civilization Arts is the brainchild of the late Ambassador Singh. A unique experiment by bringing together students from across South Asia to study visual arts at the American House in Pakistan in 2003. Built around the idea of promoting and visual collaboration, the Institute set up in the School of Visual Arts and Design and international faculty and students from Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. It has since into half of artists and designers who have a wonderful experience of and working together, and so on. Historical rights and foster a deeper understanding of who we are and how we might build a future together. We hope to build life relationships and creative networks for others. Today, more than 300 participated in the program have a strong alumni which constantly keeps in touch, devising exhibitions and creative collaborations all over the world. They are the trailblazers, putting peaceful pathways to the future. Hope is the one place, a region of peace, prosperity, and creative endeavors.
So that was a short intro to UMISA, and you got to know that, what exactly we are teaching here. Now moving forward to our today's, selected number of artists along with their work. The first name I'm going to take is Ghulam Mohammed. So Ghulam Mohammed was, he's an artist from Pakistan, Balochistan, and he was catapulted to international prominence in 2016 when he won the coveted Jameel Prize awarded by the Victoria and Albert Museum, London, the first Pakistani artist to do so. He has several groups and solo exhibition to his credits. In his work, he has tried to explore the relationship between the text and languages and identity in cultural, historical, and contemporary contexts. He is trained in traditional miniature painting technique in Pakistan and create incredibly delicate collage work. His collages are assemblages of Urdu letters painstakingly cut from second-hand books he buys from the local market. By freeing language from the page and attempting a playful reconstruction, he aims to enrich it with a new aesthetic meaning. So he says about his work as carving out the words and recomposing them is a cathartic act. It is meditative. He speaks 5 languages and is fascinated by the medium of communication. He described his work as languages create boundaries, separations, as well as invitation. Languages paradoxically conveys meaning and limits communication. It is this range of language that it is incredibly fascinating for him. Moving ahead, his 2 work of arts I have selected for you people to actually see that, how beautifully and delicately he has assembling these words. And you could see the work. One is Ahmed entry, and then it's with the Iranian ink and collage on worsted paper. Another work is Hath. So you could see the amazing, assemblage of the text. And there's a lot of a meaning behind these, these compositions that you can actually read through by your own perception and meanings. So the courage to face the world with a confident body and soul never dies when it communicates in the form of a multifaceted personality. Moving ahead towards, addressing a very prominent personality, Kubra Khadini, who is a very bold and confident artist from Afghanistan. Kubra, defining herself to feel free in the world of boundaries, dominance, and extremes, after performing her piece Armor in 2015, was forced to flee Afghanistan due to a fatwa and death threat. Currently living and working at Paris, she is producing amazing amount of work. She initially working with performative art and performative videos. The multidisciplinary artist interested in subject of female identity, such as sexuality. She has for the past few years been creating performances and performative videos where her body is always at the center. Recently revisiting the scenes from her childhood, for instance, her innocent look meets for the first time with the nakedness of the women in the women-only public hammam of her village at the lower end of the Bamiyan Valley. The timid, childlike secret drawings kept hidden from her parents. She talked about how she hid her new drawings under the mattress until the day her mother found them, tore them, and punished the buddy artist. You could see some of her work, the selected work that I chose from the 2-page book. This was the recent work she has presented in 2019. It's the Decision of Destination, Gauche and Gold on paper. She further talked about her, these drawings that similar way, her mother, with the penchant for breaking every taboo in the book by employing the crudest of vocabulary in conversation with her own friends. It was a counterpoint that inspired Kubra Khadini, who work celebrates the maternal body and the dilemma of desire and constraint associated with it. Born in a region of Afghanistan of outstanding natural beauty, artist embodies the spirit of the civilization, Greek and Indus, that held savvy in these valleys for centuries before Islam. Her inspiration comes from Islamic poetry, miniature, manuscript illumination, and calligraphy. Without even a hint of world art syncretism about it, her work is both deeply authentic and disregarding of the spatial and temporal boundaries that separate cultures, art forms, and materials. It embraces human intimacy where the human quintessence lies, and so the language of her creation is universal. Coming forward to the new medium, there are 2 more images from her recent work. So coming forward to the new medium, interdisciplinary methodologies are quite challenging and are yet the need of the present age. The young artist from Kashmir has explored the innovative mode of expression with the use of technology and programming. He has the skill of decoding his expression in a distinctive manner. Munis Ahmed Shah. He's a Kashmiri born in 1992, an artist who practiced transverses a range of media, primarily installations, moving images, text, drawing, computer programming, and machine learnings. Through the intersections of art, philosophical speculation, and historical inquiry, his work seeks to contemplate the emergence of new world and heretical flights of time and being to critically address the question of territory, language, belonging, gathering, and borders. The work intends to open discursive space of political and intercultural dialogue by reinterpreting various conceptual materials, such as being as a site of political event and insurgency, archive as an anarchic site of ontological speculation rather than a state monument, ecologies and landscapes as militant processes rather than cartographic objects signifying national substances. His practice-led research also questioned the boundaries of its media, the threshold of its entry, and the dialect of its materiality. By connecting this story from Kashmir, I am going to share 2 of his works. The one is we were looking for snow underneath the soil. I would like to share two of his short videos that would actually give you the overview of his work, and you can see the real work of Munis Ahmed Shah. Please give me a minute. Yes. So there's this one work. He has created the multiple postcards based on different incident happened in the world, and then he collected those incidents and along with his research during the militant times. These are the small postcards. And there's always a story behind each postcard. This is one of the examples. And so this is the front of the postcard, and there's this story that you all can actually read through. Another work, interesting work of Munis, I'm going to share with all of you. Your tool is my resistance too. It's with the found objects, stone, soil, organisms from a village where an army and local militia were involved in rape charges. Arduino processing, high-speed microscopic camera, 5 LEDs, DC motors, print on paper LED screens were used in this whole process of creating the equipment. Yeah, so by connecting the story from Kashmir, I'll take you to the tour of Sri Lanka. In prominence, when you learn to write stories, the idea of heaven go faded. Shakuntala Galanka. The next, sorry, yes. Shakuntala is from Sri Lanka, and she had been the UMISA alumni. Again, she got her education from Beacon House National University. And during the pandemic, she was stuck in her homeland, where she started working with different organizations as a collective, international art community. And she had been conducting a multi-modal art program for kids focusing on the diversity and inclusivity. Her works with the storytelling, graphical novels, and storybooks for kids, how objects in nature transform with time and changing contexts, intrigues her. Focusing on transformation, storytelling brings a comfort for her, while using the mediums video, performing art, and dance, choreography, story writing books for children, as well as study of the nature with kids and community work, give her such a pleasure and more to engage in drawing and painting. One of her work I'm going to show you, there's this raw picture that I've taken from her as she was doing some work, community work for the tea gardens and the kids over there. So she had been very inquisitive about her role as an artist after, like, in this post-colonial era. So she has presented this small tale from a tea garden that I'm going to show you.
मैंने आपको दो बातें बतानी है। तो ये कि आज मैं 1 बजे के करीब घर आ गई, आपकी सारी खिड़कियां, दरवाजे, पर्दे हटाए, घर को हवा लगवाई, पेट को बुलाया, जिंदगी को वापस लाए, मेरी काफी दौड़ लगी। अब मैं आराम से बैठी हूँ, तो मैं आपसे एक बात शेयर करना चाह रही थी। वो बातें मैंने रात को आपको ख्वाब में देखा। मैंने देखा एक लंबी
Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that whole tale from the tea garden. And Shakuntala has drawn all these illustrations by using the organic material, and she uses the tea washes and charcoal on paper for all these beautiful drawings. Moving ahead, sculpting the surrounding with consciousness, a sculptor from Nepal, Sajna Joshi, is none less than any other successful artist in the South Asia. While living in Berlin, her art practice is progressing. I'm going to show you her beautiful and amazing art practice. One of her work, The Wrong Body, which I like a lot. The Wrong Body, this work refers to how non-human animals are staged in zoos and museums. Often in a zoo and in a habitat diorama, non-human animals alive and dead are staged in an artificial and simulated world with plant, stones, rock, hills, and tree branches as theatrical props. Hence, they are dislocated from their natural habitat and are situated in the cultural context of agitainment. In her installation, there are human baby figures inside the veteran, instead of non-human animals. This wrongness, in her opinion, not only subverts the idea of zoo and museum displays, but also provides a reflective space to think about gaze, objectification, and human attitude towards non-human animals. So some of the details of her work. The pots she has covered with the goat skin, the trees, and this is another view that she has displayed the work in another place. And at the last, I'm going to Mrs. Salima Hashmi, who is the director UMISA of Pakistan. I really congratulate them that we are so honored, all of us who are the alumni and scholars from UMISA. We are feeling proud that today people are knowing us with our work. And this is so amazing to actually introduce the range of work, amazing work of my colleagues and my friends who are actually potentially progressing in South Asia and across the world with their artwork. So defining boundaries may treat our people function in a contained system, but beyond all odds, South Asia today is becoming the home for contemporary art, where artists are experiencing and inspired to talk about the socio-political scenario of their region. In result, the impact or influences contributing their part as mindful souls for masses. Thank you from my side. I am so obliged for this talk today, and I hope that you really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much, Zed, for sharing these interesting and exceptional works by such brilliant artists. And I would now ask the participants if they'd like to ask any questions or give feedback on this.
I think we should go on because we're short of time.
So I will now move on to our next speaker, and I would like to introduce our second panelist, Mr. Pradeep Thalawata, who lives and works in Colombo, Sri Lanka. He's known for his multidisciplinary practice, where he has used a broad range of materials to continuously expand and evolve a body of work that includes photography, drawing, video, performance, installation, and painting. He holds a BFA MFA from Beacon House National University in Lahore, Pakistan. Pradeep works mostly comment on post-conflict Sri Lanka and the urban landscape. He has exhibited his work in many galleries internationally, where his work was also displayed in the collection of Fukuoka Asian Art Museum, Japan, 2014, and Miles Garden Museum, Sweden, 2005. Pradeep has been selected amongst the 30 finalists of the 2014 to 15 Sovereign Asian Art Prize, Christie, Hong Kong, and he has also received UMISA UNESCO Madanjeet Singh Institute of South Asia Art Scholarship 2005 and 6. So thank you so much, Pradeep, for joining us. Quickly, just despite of the current situation there, I'm glad that you have somehow managed to attend this conference, and I would really like to ask you about your role as an artist as well as a citizen. That what challenges have you faced during your journey as an artist? Over to you, Pradeep. You have to unmute yourself, Pradeep. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sana, inviting me to talk, under these topics. And also I'm quite happy that, I am presenting something, where Madam Hashmi there. And also my colleagues. First thing, actually, I was planned to do talk about something regarding my art practice, but then later on the country situation and where I'm in Colombo, as you all know, uh, uh, I felt uh, quite like not to do something like even like in the studio. I am not quite doing anything function as an artist, and we are only involving in this protest where it's going at goal face mostly in Colombo. And actually we come to the like home, and then you like maybe fresh up, and then you again engage with the protest, and that kind of routine we are into. And then I thought like, okay, if I am doing something, then I can talk about my involvement with the protest, and what I see that as what kind of um what kind of one minute, I'll share my screen. Yeah, uh, I'm thinking. Hope everyone can see. Sana, can you see?
Yeah.
Yes, we can see. Please
Yeah,
proceed.
yeah. So I thought like this is the place where the things happening. So it's called Gota Gogama. It's in Colombo, um, and this is the place actually. It was earlier before the protest happened, and this was last uh, uh, like the biggest protest happened few days back. And then the how site has changed. And um, and this is the how the protesters, and then the army and the police, how we are struggling, um, and in front of army and police. And actually what I want to talk about the place itself, uh, things happening at the place. And can we consider that that this place like as a kind of a site that to keep uh, uh, further like remainings of the site. And because it's this is the site that all the uh, five-star hotels and all the the Colombo, or most of the happenings around the site. And the site has changed into a place that where the people gather, and then they are asking for rights. And then there are things happening as an artist, that I can see that things happening which you can consider that as art. And then these most of the people who do things, and they just throwing out their feelings by doing something. And it's one of a actor doing a kind of a protest there. And these are some kind of people who are doing kind of performance art, we can say. And many kind of events happening at the site. uh, and this is another one actor. Uh, he has taken this thing almost 40 kilometers, and he's uh, also catering the 2019 April 21, that Easter attack thing. And these are the actually kind of arts happening at the place. Some musicians are playing and some artists are working on their surface, and then some kind of characters, um, uh, like prime ministers and presidents, face and all, and also um, kind of yeah, master artist works also, kind of things that you can see also on that characters. um, and these are some of sculptures people who made. And like these are like that plastic bottles also, like there are some kind of discipline at the site. Now actually the site, after this Gota Gogama, that which they call, and the village after they call, after they start protest now, today it's like almost 97 days has passed. And this is how, like, even there are like people who collect plastic things, and then they also make kind of art out of that. This is like kind of bottles that they collect and make kind of a shape. And mm, and also these musicians, how they play and how express their feelings. um, and these are kind of festivals. This is a Vesak festival that even you can see other religious people, how they uh, working together and sharing things. And because something that which lacking past years, that that was actually, that is the problem, even like this language and religious issues. So, and this is the place that everyone get together and um, um, doing their festivals, or and also they have also start a art gallery there. And then also a studio space that you go, and then some people who visit the site or stay overnight, and they participate some workshops. Here you can see, and this is the small art gallery that they have start. mm, and also there is a library, and then you can donate the book. And then you can see these people who kids and like people that go there and passing time reading books, and uh, things are happening like that. And there is also a cinema hall which call tear gas cinema. And because like more like the protest, most of the time you get this tear gas. And then actually they have named the cinema hall as tear gas cinema. And here these are the some of posters that what kind of things that they are showing at. So uh, what really actually I am trying to gather these images and trying to share. This place actually was a kind of a place, you can see that how the place was. And what has that the site has changed into this kind of a site. And then and the things happening at the site are also you cannot you of course you have to take it serious, and things happening at the Gota Gogama. And myself where I'm also a ordinary person from the country, and or also a, citizen from the place. And w- the way I involve to the thing, and also things I see in my profession, how things I like, how I what I have practiced and what I am doing today. And I can also take these kind of activities, and also till today I haven't done anything like this, because I don't have a kind of you know like um, kind of uh, I don't actually think that at the moment that I should do something there, and nothing that I get kind of visually kind of form that or a kind of a performance that I should do there. But my way of taking what I'm thinking, stay maximum time there and involving with the protest, and at least kind of a person that you know uh, um, um, taking part of that whole gathering, and the numbers will increase, and our voice will raise that way. So that's how I take myself today. And thought sharing this site, what is happening, and how I see the things.
Thank you. Thank you, Pradeep. That was so moving. And it was
Yeah,
exactly what I had been talking about earlier, that,
yeah,
you are part of that community. And by this documentation, you have actually made us part of that community. You have become, the interpreter for us. And of course, and that is the role that an artist plays. There can be no better role than for them to become the voice of the people, and that voice becomes a universal voice. And therefore,
yeah.
it's so essential, this documentation that you have done. It is your work. It is your work because you have
Thank
brought
you.
something to us.
Yeah.
And I cannot thank you enough, because you have actually demonstrated what I was talking about earlier. So it's and I'm really want to thank you for your courage, and thank you for you know making us realize that we are all South Asians together, and we have joint struggles, we have joint problems, and it is eventually we know that we have to solve them. And when the people come out like this, they have taken the first step, and the artist to be there with them means that they are in step with them. There can be no greater honor for an artist than that. Thank you so much for that
Thank
presentation.
you, madam. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Pradeep, for sharing the inside stories. And as we all know, and I totally agree that artistic expressions have always played a powerful and peaceful tool in raising your voice. And I hope the situation gets stable and peaceful soon. So moving on to our next speaker, we have, I would like to introduce Mina Haroon, who works as an assistant director, fine arts in Lahore Art Council. She has headed the Alhambra Art Gallery as a curator since 2017 and is an interdisciplinary visual artist. She is the project associate in a Project Rasai, a social awareness campaign on rights to information and rights to services in Punjab with the support of GIZ Germany. She has curated various exhibitions at Alhambra Art Gallery and at the Museum of Sociology and Anthropology, Thammasat University, and Queen Circuit Convention Center, Thailand. She has been a member of the Art and Architecture Committee, Governor Punjab. She has recently won the Popular Choice Award Red Art Box, Los Angeles, as an artist. So welcome, Amina, as you know that we have very less time for having this discussion, but we will try. So I will just sum up my question in as being in a government organization. What is your stance of curating exhibitions there, and what kind of change do you see in young artists' art practices? You are muted. You have to unmute yourself.
Hello,
Yes, we can hear you.
you can hear me now?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Sana, for a wonderful introduction. And I would like to thank Mrs. Hashmi, Zilibatul, and Pradeep for their very informative presentations. And Pradeep, thank you so much for being a part of this talk today. It was really hard for you to join us today, but it was very knowledgeable for me to learn about the situation of Sri Lanka. So now I would like to begin to talk about, particularly about Lahore Arts Council right now. I will begin my talk with a presentation about Lahore Arts Council. So Lahore Arts Council was established in 1948. It is a cultural body which is now working under government of Punjab. It organizes various art-related activities such as art exhibitions, conferences, festivals, seminars, musical shows, capacity building workshops, puppet shows, theater, street theater, talent hunt programs through its purpose-built auditoriums, art gallery, art museum, Alhambra Academy, and library. The main core of this Arts Council is to mix art and culture together to uplift the community. The first exhibition I'm going to talk about today is the Young Artist Exhibition. So this is the image from the ceremony which was held this year. This is the title was Around the Corner. It was the 18th annual Young Artists Exhibition. I would like to show you a small video of this exhibition, and then I will discuss about this exhibition.
But now I think it's stuck. The video is not running.
It is from my side. It is. Should I play it again?
Yes, please.
I think you have to stop running this presentation and then play with the shared window.
Can you see now?
Yes, we can see. Mina, I would like to ask, is this video without voice?
Yes, there isn't much voice. There's just a background music. There isn't voice, just a background music. So the main purpose. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. So the main purpose of sharing this video was to show you the faces and the artworks of the young artists. These are all artists who are age group between 20 years to 32 years. The main mission of doing this exhibition for last 18 years is to create a space for a person who does not have a prerequisite of being from an art institute or doing any exhibitions, to provide them a space where they can come and exhibit their works and have an experience of being an artist. The ceremony is just a sort of a celebration to conclude this exhibition, to make a mark that, okay, we have done something big. But the main point of doing this exhibition is to bring these faces to the art galleries and let them see art, let them represent their work, let them talk about it, to have an interaction with the celebrated artists who are very renowned artists, like we call Rashid Rana, who is the Dean of SWAT, and Kudus Mirza, who is the ex-head of the National College of Arts, RM Naim, who is the associate professor, Miss Balia Azmi Aga, she is head of Punjab College of Art and Design, Punjab University, to come have an interaction on this day. The main purpose of this exhibition is to let people have an interaction with each other and decide and discuss what their new things can be, and to build linkages in between each other. So this is the purpose of this exhibition is solely to promote our young artists who want to come into this field and explore the field of art. So this is the next exhibition which we are doing for last 3 years, that is Alhambra's national exhibition. So this exhibition is something which we have decided to do for last 3 years because we wanted to create a platform where we can see young artists and established artists of Pakistan coming under one roof. Because it is very difficult to see so many artists in one gallery at a time. The main purpose of seeing this gratitude of this building is because the gallery is so big that we need to see that we should bring more artists coming in, and we should provide opportunities for the viewers to come and see more artworks. In this exhibition, particularly, we requested Ali Kazim, who is a very renowned mid-career artist, who has just exhibited his work at Ashmolean Museum, to represent his work in the national exhibition. Particularly this work, these portraits are jewel-like in minutely observed details. And in this work, the viewers are invited to meet distinct individuals to contemplate their personal histories in isolating their physical details on unmodulated backgrounds of saturated colors. The individuals are often, though not always strangers, photographed on the streets because they attract the artist's interest. Kazim remains fascinated with those elements of identity that individuals come to hold close, which help them make sense of who they are and where they come from. It is basically the medium and the color that set the mood of the work rather than the personality of the subject. So initially, we have seen the work of very talented young artists who are coming into this field, and with the contrast of displaying works of our mid-career artists in the same gallery. Next work from this exhibition was Yasser Waqas, who's a young artist, and his work is about compromises and conflicts within a personality between idea innate and idea implanted, and the damage to the personality and the idea itself. The occurrence of feather and metal in his work continue to build and deceive the viewer because of their very nature of being the artificially created and the other coming from nature itself. Yet it is a contradiction to their very existence. This battle of opposition is very much visible in all of his work. So the main purpose of doing this exhibition is these young students who are studying in different art colleges, or maybe not art colleges. These is a group of people who we are inviting to come and see this exhibition. So the main purpose of this exhibition is not solely art students or art related people. This is for the general public, for the general community to come and see these works. Because once we come to Alhambra, in the morning time, we have so many school events happening. Those students are not generally going to the galleries. They are not visiting museums that much. But Alhambra being the source and being a purpose-built building that we have halls and a gallery attached to it. So we provide an opportunity to those people who are not coming from the art field. In connection to this exhibition, what we try to do is we try to create these small workshops related to these exhibitions where we can see very small and young kids coming in and learning about drawing. That this is not something which solely the kid is doing. Basically, the whole family is involved in it. When a parent comes to drop his child, he also visits the gallery, he also visits the hall. So these types of activities, we are trying to engage the whole family through these activities. And we're trying to communicate with these people through these workshops, through these exhibitions, to come and promote art and see what is happening in our art field nowadays. Because it is difficult for us to go and visit different communities. So we've tried to create a space for these communities to come and see the works. This is another visual from the drawing class where, because right now we are dealing more with the artists, more with the younger lot who are not known to the art field, who do not have much experience. So we try to provide opportunities to them. This is a class which is happening every day from 4 to 6. It's a 2-hour class where anyone can come and learn drawing, painting, and different mediums. There are almost 12 disciplines of performing and visual arts, which is happening in the complex to let people come and learn. And there is no prerequisite for coming and learning these classes, because we want people to feel encouraged and to take it as an everyday activity, to enjoy their life, to have a spiritual link with art, to have a very refreshed feeling of to get connected with art field. So as you know, we are living in a society which is very much connected with Muslim world. In here, we have a very significant importance of calligraphy as well. So we try to arrange workshops which are designed for people who are maybe are feeling hindrance in coming to art galleries. So we try to organize such type of activities for them so they can feel connected. So calligraphy is something which is enrooted in our religion. So that's how we started to think about different communities, different people who can come and have benefits from these workshops. So this is one of my personal favorite picture. As you can see, this is just recently happened last month. Before Eid, we tried to organize a calligraphy workshop. So we were not expecting more than 50 participants, but on the day of the workshop, we got at least 175 participants, because there wasn't any prerequisite, there wasn't any age limit. We tried to provide them art material. The number increased as to our expected number we were expecting, but we still try to accommodate as much as possible. And there was a question by most of the parents that can we join? Can our kids join? So we try to create a workshop where everyone can come, have a to our activity, so they don't feel they have to drop their kids or they have to stay away from their kids, vice versa. So everyone can be a part of it. So this is a family who are enjoying. At the back, you can also see these are not people who are from the art background, who do not want to continue art as their careers, but still we wanted to provide an opportunity to them to have a hands-on activity. So these are also young girls who just started to learn how to paint on the very first day. We let them play with colors. We let them just ruin their canvases in our terms. But and the floor was also damaged because they didn't know that how to handle the paints. The next day, I was very surprised that the whole floor was damaged and we were supposed to get it cleared by professionals. So this is something which we take, and we give them a sense of happiness, which we want them to take it before the celebration of Eid. So this is another sort of workshop we did. It is also a calligraphy workshop. We invited different calligraphy artists from different countries. He's Okasha. He's based in Dubai. He just came to give this workshop. So what we did is we created a calligraphy workshop, a calligraphy exhibition in relation to a calligraphy workshop. So people can come, see the paintings, learn from it, and they can produce their own works. Again, in this exhibition, there wasn't any prerequisites, so people do not feel any confusion. What we do is we do not create any hurdles for people who want to come and learn. So what we do is we just take registrations on the phone call. So that's why we are not also aware how many people we are going to get, because it's very difficult for our young girls to come for the registration first and then come and attend the workshop. So we give a landline number to them so they can get the registrations done and they can participate in the workshop. Our main focus is to provide them the best facilities, art material, so they do not have any financial issues to attend these workshops. All of these workshops are completely free. Other than the courses, the courses which we do is that's just 1,000 rupees monthly, which is a very minimal amount. That is just to create a seriousness for the students, that's it. But other than that, we try to create opportunities which are free of cost. There isn't any ticketing, there isn't any registration fee taken during these workshops. So these are hands-on workshops where students get involved with these teachers, have a very good session. Some of the students from our academy also join these workshops. Some of the students we don't know. So it is a very rare experience for me as well to teach, to come and teach the students who are coming from non-art background, to teach them the basics. Okay, they have very different questions, that what material can we bring? Okay, from where can we get the canvas? So these are the questions that comes to me every day. Whenever we go for an open call, there are very different questions. This is a very rare question that everyone asks. okay, do the work has to be framed? What can be the size of the work? What is the topic of the exhibition? So these are the most common questions which I get on everyday basis for any exhibition, for any open call. But we are here to facilitate people and to answer them as much as we can, because we are human as well. So we try to do it as much as possible. So taking Alhambra to Thailand was another exhibition which I did. The title of this exhibition was Colors of Pakistan, which was held at Museum of Sociology and Anthropology, Thammasat University, Thailand. Because Pakistan has a tremendous artistic and cultural religious significance of Buddhism that exists in Pakistan, and its roots in Pakistan is almost 2300 years ago. So we have very different archaeological sites in Pakistan, which exist in Sawat, Mingora, Texila. So these are very unknown and very not much common to the world. So what we try to do is, we try to take this exhibition to their country, because in Thailand, there is a large number of people who are practicing Buddhism. So what we did is, we were not able to transport all the artifacts. So what we did is, we did a picture exhibition of the historical entities of Buddhism we have in Pakistan, which are these two parts, their relics. So we took the pictures, we tried to create an exhibition from this historical entities we have in Pakistan. So the outcome of this exhibition was that as soon as we went to Thailand to display these artifacts, pictures, we got a lot of people coming in as tourists to come and visit these places. So as soon as we came back, we got a delegation of 14 to 15 faculty members from the Thammasat University to come and visit and see Pakistan. So we took them all around in Pakistan, because Pakistan is a very rich country and it is a house of the various ancient civilizations. So it is important for us to share that cultural heritage with other people as well. So these are different exhibitions I'm looking at, because coming from an arts council, it is not about designing one exhibition or designing or placing one artwork with another one. It is more about designing a whole year where all the members of the communities are being served and they feel connected towards the art council. Because when we look into, I would not prefer to take it as the name of private galleries or something like that, but those galleries, I would say, are more related to the people who are coming from the art field, because people do not feel comfortable in going to those art galleries that much. So we try to accommodate the community as well, the artist community, and then our mid-career and young artists, and then a senior artist as well. So we keep a blend of each and everything. This is just a beginning, and this is happening for last 70 years now in Alhambra. And being a member of Lahore Arts Council, I'm trying to get the community more connected, the people who want to learn about art, because I feel there is a gap in our education system about teaching art. That has to be filled, and that can only be filled through art councils, through community services, through connecting community through arts through various platforms. And that's all. Thank you so much. Is there any
I
question?
think that's really great, Mina, because you pointed to exactly what is required. You know, how ordinary people in a city can look for this kind of an exposure and find it. And that is always the challenge, that there have to be people the other side who are willing to go all out and be the facilitators, you know, which is what your role is. That's really, really very worthwhile.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mina. It was so wonderful to see your efforts and the artworks by new emerging artists. So I've also witnessed their works, and I was there at the exhibition. So I was surprised to see the sudden change in the art, in their art practices as well as, but we will be sharing it later. Let's move on to our next panelist because she's waiting. Now I would like to introduce you all to Ms. Kuratulan Sonia Kashmiri, who is a researcher, writer, and a creative practitioner across many fields with the passion of academia. For the past 2 years, she has conducted extensive research on digital and emerging technologies, especially those related to Web3, such as augmented reality, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence, with a focus on how they can be successfully employed in creative and artistic practices. She has over 20 years of experience on educational platforms within creative industries in the UK, UAE, and Pakistan. So Sonia, welcome.
Yes.
And, I
Thank you
would
so
just
much.
ask you this question of just explaining that what can you tell us about the role that technology has to play in art and creativity today?
Okay, thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Sana, and thank you to all the speakers before me. Interesting content, lots to learn, obviously, from all of you. With regards to your question and the platform that you've created, obviously, I want to thank IVCOM for inviting me, first of all. And with regards to the platform and the topic at hand today, which is primarily freedom, or the ability to express art freely, right? I personally think, because of my research into emerging technologies, that there is so much ground that we can cover on this particular topic. However, I've put together a very, very small presentation deck for all of you. And it might look like it's really large, but most of it is visual. And the idea behind it is that I wanted to share the possibilities that are now there in art or creativity, right? For me personally, my background is actually from fashion. So I don't use the word art only, I use creativity as an entire space now. And for that creative space, for all of us as creators, there are so many tools and so many technologies that we can engage with. So I'm gonna basically share my screen here and share the presentation deck that I've made with you guys. Just a second. So can we all see my screen here?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So we're looking at, obviously, as Sana mentioned, the topic, which is art beyond boundaries. And I am particularly speaking about technology as a tool of practice. As Sana mentioned, my name, and this is me on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn as Kuratulan Sonia Kashmiri. So when we look at the entire scope of the conference today, one of the statements that Sana made in the abstract was that the biggest challenge for artists has always been to set themselves free, explore art and their ideas without constraints of boundaries and or limitations. And this is exactly where I wanted to address the the advent and the contribution of emerging technologies. So for everyone on this meeting right now, I want you all to close your eyes and just think of art, right? So what do we envision when we close our eyes and we think of the word art? So for me, it was always this. This is the epitome of art for me personally. It's one of my most favorite images. I literally have this on so many things that I own. I have a dress, I have socks, so for me, this is like the height of art. However, during my research over the past couple of years, and especially more so recently, I've discovered that, there is so much more that we can contribute to this space. So for the general population, what comes to your mind when I speak about art or I say the word art? Obviously, we have some of our classic greats, such as Leonardo da Vinci. We have his artwork. So I'm actually going to be quantifying some of the artworks here as well for you. So this is his most expensive painting by the name of Salvador Mundi, dating back to the 1500s. And this sold in 2017 for $450 million, right? Again, like I said, the idea behind quantifying here is to show that, we have so much economic potential that will eventually emerge from associating technology with art. Moving on, obviously we have Picasso, and this is his artwork, Femme Assise, and this dates back to 1909. Sold for $151.9 million in the year 2016. Vincent van Gogh, and this is again one of his most expensive artworks. It's the portrait of Dr. Gachet, made in 1890 by himself. Sold for $82.5 million in 1990. And last but not least, Dali. The reason I'm bringing Dali into this equation, even though his artwork is not that expensive, will make sense in a little while. So this is a portrait of Paul Eluard by Salvador Dali, which he painted in 1929, and that sold for $21.5 million in 2011. So there are obviously other forms of art as well. Has anybody ever seen this? Has anybody heard of Beeple? I'm guessing not. So this is a new phenomena in art. This is a completely digital composite of art, okay? And it's 5,000 individual artworks composed into this one piece. The artist's name is Beeple. He was born in 1980. He created this artwork in 2021, and he sold it for $69.3 million in the year he created it. So he literally minted or created this artwork, and then he sold it within a few months. So what I'm trying to establish here is the timelines between some of the classic great artists that we just looked at, and how their money is being made posthumously by other people. So they've actually, they're long gone. But there's all these people changing hands, and those artworks are held in private collections. So if we move on, this is another artwork which was created by a collective of artists through artificial intelligence, okay? The phenomena of artificial intelligence, I will discuss a little further down as well. This is by a technology known as Deep Dream, which has been created by Google. And this was inspired by Vincent van Gogh, as I already established, my favorite artwork. So this was the first one that attracted me. Created in 2016, sold for $98,000 at the time. And this was a collective of, I think, about 10 people. So, still not bad if you think about it. If we divide it by 10, still quite a bit of money for one artwork. This is a more recent example where we can actually look at, sorry, just a second. Yeah. So a more recent example is this particular artwork by Obvious. And that is, again, a collective. And they've used a technology known as generative adversarial networking. Okay. The name of the artwork, sorry, just a second. I'm not sure why it's resized itself. Okay, so the name of the artwork, as you can see, is Edmond de Bellamy, okay? And a whole bunch of equations at the beginning. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce those. And this was created in the year 2018. And in 2021, it sold for $432,500. This is completely generated by a machine. A machine was fed information about classic art and given a whole bunch of parameters, and using those parameters and that knowledge or that data, the machine then created this, which honestly, if you hung it up in a gallery or a museum anywhere in the world, I really don't think the average viewer would be able to tell this apart from any of our classics. So moving on, obviously we have other iterations in art now, mixed mediums. We have, things like this. So art like this is a commentary on pop culture, or it references pop culture very strongly. We have sculptures, we have so many different art forms. But then we now move into the space where we'll talk about technology and how it can contribute to art. So the very first thing I would like to do is actually share this video with you. And Sana, can you please let me know if the sound is okay? So I'm just gonna press play here. Unmute first.
From paintings to photographs to film, artists have always been quick to adapt to new forms of expression. And in the modern day, technology is helping visionaries take their experimentation even further. From technical installations to virtual reality tours, there's a whole heap of boundary-pushing art to be found online.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we begin with a spectacular ballet created by Japanese advertising firm MicroAd. Dubbed Sky Magic, the performance art at a distance looks like fireflies dancing in the dusk. But on closer inspection, those fireflies are actually drones packed with LED lights, a whole 16,000 of them, all set against the backdrop of beautiful Mount Fuji in Japan. The whole effect is entrancing, and it seems viewers around the world agree, with the video receiving over 340,000 views on Vimeo alone. And we're transported from the pretty to the downright sublime. Canadian studio Irregular fuse art and technology in some very progressive ways. Their installation Control No Control once again takes advantage of LED lights, but this time with an interactive element. Placed in public squares, the sculpture inspires passers-by to use their hands and bodies to play with the sound and graphics running through the cube structure. But one artist focused entirely on internalizing their creativity. Conceptual artist Lisa Park used technology to manipulate water with her brain. For her piece Eunoia, Lisa used a specialized device called the NeuroSky EEG headset to transform her brain activity into streams of data. Her brainwaves and eye movements were monitored and then transformed into sound waves. These waves then emerge through 5 speakers placed under shallow dishes of water, which then vibrate in various patterns. And Lisa isn't the only one experimenting with such fusions. Artist Tiayu Leo also blends art and technology in a mind-bending way. Her Magic Forest installation brings sunlight and nature into a dreary Shanghai metro station. By wrapping a ring of LED lights around the station pillars, schools of illuminated 3D printed butterflies sail across the station's sweeping walls. The result is a multi-sensory experience in which it seems as if beams of light are peeking through the clouds on a gloomy day. Tiayu explains the process of selecting technologies for her art pieces.
In order to find the right media to express each piece of work, we always do several things. keep up to date with different technologies and materials, and understand how these technologies work, what are the advantages and disadvantages, whether it is in line with our concept. After exploring all those things, we then make an informed decision concerning our approach and method.
Now to an artist who is using technology to explore the beauty of physicality. Tobiah Gremler's visionary new series recreates the graceful moves of Kung Fu. But rather than using the motion of real life, the whole creation is formed solely with motion capture and digital manipulation. Gremler slowed down 8 animated moves that were recreated using stretched fabrics and rolling metallic threads. A true visionary taking advantage of the technological landscape in order to turn his idea into a reality. And clearly many have been excited to gaze into his imagination, with the video reaching over 550,000 views online. But it's not only hardware that is inspiring artists, but software too. Chad Knight utilised photo sharing app Instagram as a playground for his digital art. Tasking himself with a 365-day challenge, Chad wanted to post a new piece of art every single day. And the results are bewildering. Featuring brightly coloured skulls and random creatures, Knight's pictures create a world reminiscent of critically acclaimed artist Salvador Dali. Although unlike Knight, Dali did not have 21st century technology to display his work. Fortunately for Dali, a museum in Florida has decided to take on this task for him. The Dali Museum has created a 360-degree virtual reality tour, which includes elements from his famous paintings Angelus and The Lobster. It's to coincide with the museum's exhibition, which explores his work similarities with Walt Disney. And they've even transported the surrealist master into the world of virtual reality. Part of the immersive exhibition sees visitors able to explore the world of Dali through an Oculus Rift headset. From the stroke of a paintbrush to the click of a mouse, technology is helping to take art to the next level. Whether it's helping the creator to realize their vision or pushing them to try new forms of expression, digital art is thriving. And the best part? Most of it is available from the comfort of your very own computer.
Okay, everyone. I hope that was a a nice view into how exactly technology is being utilized to create art. And moving on, I thought that before we go any further, I thought that we should just, for the purpose of this particular talk, define exactly what technology is for us. So it is a number of things, but within our context, we're looking at the application of tools or the application of emergent technologies, emerging practices within the field of art. So if we do a snapshot of the situation currently, the rise of emerging technologies has now become the third industrial revolution. Technology is omnipresent in modern life. And obviously, we are now living in an era where nothing is untouched by technology. Art and creativity is not an exception anymore. And just to understand the depth of this particular statement, one only needs to visit thesis shows that have been put up recently. The amount of technology, especially post-COVID, the amount of technology that we had to rely on to even communicate with each other, that has created a whole new space where creativity and art can be expressed. So emerging technologies have accelerated consumption in art. Again, this was during COVID that the space picked up a lot. You have art institutions which are now looking at alternative media and means for displaying, promotion, and conservation of collections. Social media, obviously, none of us can escape it anymore because cultural branding is now part of the digital age that we live in. Experimenting with new media gives rise to art and helps us push the boundaries of contemporary art practices as we know them to be. So then the question arises, is digital art a form of democracy? So what was once known as computer art or new media art is actually what we now refer to as digital. And this can be anything produced or made on digital media, including animations, photographs, videos, digital artworks or paintings, illustrations, etc. The digitization of art does mean easier access to that art. So previously you had galleries or museums that would put up these art shows, and those were the only places where you could exclusively go and visit the art. You could access the artwork online, but it would always be either a recreation or a print or some lesser form of the actual artwork. Then, however, again, with the advent of COVID, because we were confined within our spaces, the idea of taking artwork onto our screens became massive. And that's when, you had artists like Beeple creating what they did. And so now when we are at this crossroads of digital ways of consuming art, is it fitting that we talk about the democratization of art and freedom within creation? So I wanted to, put down this quote at this particular moment. Richard Armstrong, who is the director of the Guggenheim Museum in USA, he described openness as one of the most important qualities of art. And yes, art should be open to all and therefore should be democratic, but is it really? In the new, the new model that we have created of emerging technologies and art coinciding, yes, the democracy is arising, and that will be evident with time to come. One other element of art is that each of us is free to interpret art in our own way. So there is no wrong or incorrect interpretation of art. And that's why it's becoming more and more important to make art democratic and make it accessible on a large scale. And within this, we're talking about the actual consumption as well as the creation of art. So with that, I thought I'd share some examples of digital art with you, and just to give you an idea of exactly how vast that creative space is. We have, so the idea again is not just limited to drawing with, with tools or utilizing conventional tools only. It can also go back to digital manipulation of those artworks, as well as creating, images or artworks from scratch. And again, obviously, my favorite, the Starry Night. So this is a digital version of that, something inspired by Van Gogh. So for the artists amongst us who'd been inquiring or who are inquisitive, how would you take a start in digital art, which is the very first step towards technology, employing technology in your art? So what you need, very few and basic elements that you would need to look at is you need to have talent, you need to be willing to work hard. You need to have the right hardware. So right hardware and software, which is not that difficult to access. It's not that expensive anymore. You need creativity and imagination, and then you need to basically let it run wild. So remember that the sky is the limit. So within the digital art form, we spoke about AI generated art, which was in the video. And the question that is currently being, like it's being thrown around is that, is AI generated art really an art form? Is it really art? So the mechanisms for creating AI art are many. I'm only going to have a look at a few examples with you. We're not going to get into the scientific background of it or like the technical background behind it, but suffice to say that there are two examples that I'm sharing with you, and these are easily accessible for everyone through your smartphones as well as through your your devices, your laptops, computers, tablets, etc. So the first one is called Night Cafe Creator. And these are some examples of the artworks that have been created using this particular platform. These are some cityscapes and some landscapes that have been created. And then again, this is my favorite theme, recurring theme through today's talk. So this particular artwork is an amalgamation of two images, as you can see on the left-hand side. There's the image of the astronaut on the moon, and then there's the image of Van Gogh's Starry Night. And the combination of the two together is the artwork on the right-hand side, as you can see. The latest technology that has arisen or is currently emerging, and by the way, you need to sign up on a wait list to actually access this platform right now. It's known as DALL-E 2. So when I said earlier that DALL-E will eventually make sense in all of this, is because DALL-E has become a recurring theme when we look at art and the sort of crossroads with emerging technologies. And obviously the least of them being this particular platform. So DALL-E 2 is extremely intuitive, very smart, and can do can create multiple versions of artworks for you. So the very first thing it can do is it can create original and realistic images from just a text description. And an example of this is, so if you can see, read on the top, this is the description: an astronaut, teddy bears, and a bowl of soup. So we're selecting an astronaut. The next element we're selecting is riding a horse. And the last element we've selected is in a photorealistic style. And the same exact description has given a multitude of end results, as you can see in the grid below. So, I've only just shared the 4 examples with you. There were about 9 or 10, I believe, for this particular combination. Moving on, one of the other things that DALL-E 2 can do is it can make edits to images. And again, this is from using captions or using information that we as creators can impart in a natural language. So the original image on the left-hand side gave us an option of 3 locations to place a corgi dog, okay? And on the right-hand side, as you can see, the images with the selection show where the corgi has been placed. So within option 1, which was with the image of with the painting of the gentleman, you can see that the software has created a version of the image with the dog placed in it. And within that, it has also created multiple options for you. So it actually gave 5 options. I've shared 3 for you here. And then one last thing that DALL-E 2 can do is it can take an image and create actual variations of it, which will be inspired by the original. So I thought this was going to be very interesting. This is Girl with the Pearl Earring by Vermeer, very famous painting, of course. And with this original image, DALL-E 2 created the versions on the right-hand side. So it created, again, a multiple of 9 or 10. I've only shared the 3 with you. And this software is very easy to access. You can just go online, and if you enter DALL-E 2 into Google, it'll take you directly to where you can access this platform. So one other thing that I did want to include, because I'm conscious of time now, I'm going to move into wrap-up mode with you guys. NFTs, right? And this is a term that a lot of us must have come across by now, I hope. If you haven't, I would highly recommend you do look it up, because it's where the art world is heading now. And so what does NFT actually stand for? And no, it does not stand for newest funky things. The word NFT, the term NFT is actually representative of non-fungible tokens. And a non-fungible token is, in scientific language, it's considered a unit of data, and it is exclusive to all other units around it, right? So this is, it's stored on a digital ledger, which is a kind of, a catalog, a digital catalog. And this is what we call the blockchain. And that particular storage of the unit certifies that that asset is unique. So it is something that cannot be reproduced and does not have multiple units of itself. It is one, it is unitary, and it is, it's exclusive. That's what an NFT stands for. So things that we can consider to be NFTs are digital copies of photographs, videos, audios, and any other types of digital files. So you can actually create copies of your physical artwork and mint those or sell those onwards as an NFT. The ownership can be shared amongst multiple people. It's not restricted to the buyer of the NFT. However, with the blockchain, the person who owns it has proof of ownership. So if we go back to the example of Beeple, right? He was the first example we looked at for digital art. And so Beeple actually created these images, these mints of NFTs, which is what he eventually moved into his composite. He called it the Everydays. This was during his period in COVID, during the pandemic. So he was under lockdown, just like everyone else, had a lot of time to his hands, started creating these artworks, which are very similar to playing cards or flashcards that we used to have as kids, right? So we'd have these limited edition cards that we would collect for different, series or different animations, and we would trade them amongst each other as kids. And utilizing that same concept, he took NFT artworks and created these cards. Those cards then became the composites for his images. And that entire grid, as we saw previously, was built up. And it built up into this, which was his composite artwork, which sold for bajillions of dollars. So the NFT market value actually tripled in 2020 to more than $250 million. And during the first quarter of 2021, just the first quarter alone, NFT sales crossed $2 billion. Current market share in 2022, this is within the first half, $3 billion. And expected growth in this space till the year 2027 is $13.6 billion. Now, the thing to take away from all of this is the fact that being in this space gives you access to a global market, first and foremost. You are not limited to the people who are immediately in your surrounding area. You are not even limited to the people who are in your social networks or your digital footprint, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram. Being in the NFT space and utilizing the platforms that have been created gives us access to global markets. As an educator, this is something that I am now working with my students very actively. And in my course in the winter semester, I had TFA students. So I had textile and fashion students, accessory students, who I was basically taking through this entire NFT process. And I gave them the tools and the base knowledge to create NFTs or imagine what their creation of NFTs would be like. And I was so impressed by the results because these kids actually created individual artworks with digital formats, put them up on social media, and a couple of them came back and said they'd been approached to actually sell their pieces. this is the potential that technology can actually give art. And this is how, going forward, we can remove all the boundaries that surround art and creativity. And that's it from my side.
Well, thank you so much, Sonia, for this wonderful, wonderful presentation and
You're welcome.
about these technological aspects and how we can collaborate with them in our art practices. Well, we have Bushra here from Canada. She also wanted to know something regarding the NFT, and I think I should ask Bushra to join us, please. Bushra, can you please ask your question? What exactly was it?
Sure.
Bushra?
I also hope, by the way, it wasn't too much to digest for everyone. I tried to make it really, really base level and start with baby steps, but there is so much. When you actually get into the space, there's just so much to take in.
Yeah, but it was very informative. It was really
okay, excellent.
I'm
glad.
Okay, let me unmute Bushra. Okay, so Bushra, can you speak now? Yes.
Hi. Hi, everybody. It was lovely. And I love the Salima Hashmi's. It makes me so emotional. Literally makes me emotional because I didn't even know Basant was banned in Pakistan. And also other projects was similar to my projects I did. But for NFTs, I'm doing from last whole year. And it's really good. And I was in other conference, and that is a big issue. There is also the safety. And, so do it. Everybody have to do it in future. Every artist have to do it. We are going on that way. We can't leave it. But we also need to learn how to save, how much we invest. So we can invest the money, how much we can put in the bank, basically. Because there's many of the artists, they lose a lot of it. So it's a kind of market, we have to do it. Every artist have to do it. Even bigger museums and art galleries are going in NFTs. Without that, even there's coming, might be we need to get the insurances on that one, because art galleries have insurances and they're keeping saving a lot of it. And it's make it easier, but it's also put it in a bit of risky place. So when anybody start NFTs, so make sure you know whole picture. You know how you can do it. We have to do it. We, all of us, art is going there. That is the next step. You can't live without it in future. And but everybody have to know the danger too, and insecurities too. And I love it. I love everyone, Zile, Batul, Meena, Haroon. I love it. I know about Lahore. It's like I'm many years at different conferences, different places, but I was losing this part. I didn't, it was emotionally, it makes emotionally. And Pradeep too, it was really, really special. Your work is so special. And you should do it on NFTs too, but make sure no one put on your faces there. No one should know where you live or stuff like that. For anybody is doing NFTs, this is the first basic things. Be safe there. It is the thing we have to do. It's like learning a car. It's very deadly, but we have to learn the car. So be safe there, and thank you so much. It was very, very interesting. And thank you, Sana. Thank you, Sana, for letting me know.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Bushra. I hope to see you again, inshallah, soon. Now I would like to call Sir Akhtar Javed to please join us and give us some remarks about this conference.
Yeah, hello everybody. Actually, what what I can say on that, because a lot of things has already been said. So by different senior people, even the senior artists and Nawazis, and then our keynote speaker, and then many more. So, but overall, I can, if I take some view of your presentations, so that's an excellent presentation. I would scale that. So, because they are diversified too. See, so we have seen the exhibitions, galleries, and we have seen the exterior designs of the buildings, and we have seen lighting arrangement gimmicks, and then we have seen this definitely this augmented technology or digital technology, and then all about it, you see. So they now things are gone advanced a little bit in digital technology and digital paintings. But definitely these are the very difficult subjects. Digital painting is not easy subject because it needs a skill of handling equipment. It needs the skill of learning application softwares, and it needs the skill of learning about the hardware, using latest hardware and all. So these things are not easily available to everyone. So, but definitely, if someone has the access to this or can easily get the access to this technology, they must do, because it's all future is lies in that. So, as you see, if you want to earn billion and million, then you have to learn this technology at this particular level. So I say thank you to everyone, and I was really impressed by the tool presentation. I know her personally, so I will take a little bit from her side, because she has started with the different theme and topics. You see, which is normally not prevailing in the art and other things. So, but definitely that is a project-based study. You see, Sri Lanka exercise and all this. So my Sri Lankan friends said, yes, we wanted him to say something about Sri Lanka and what is the situation going on there, and how the art today is prevailing on that. What is their worries, and how can we help them? So definitely that has lot his presentation has given us a lot of learning, you see. So we are with them, and definitely on government level, we are the greater friend. Pakistan and Sri Lanka are the greater friend, you see. So we are not from today. It's years and years back, we have been coordinating and collaborating with them. And definitely on Buddhist aspects also, we go in line with Nepal and Sri Lanka. So because we have the Buddhist sites in Pakistan too. So thank you very much indeed. And at the last, I must say thank you to keynote speaker, and to you, my dear chairperson, because it is all your
Thank you, sir.
takes. You see, I have been indulging in such activities before, but then I thought it's better to distribute, you see, distribute the responsibilities. And so we can share with each other, and we can learn from each other. And I pray that we must go to build a huge network of that, so that we will not be having a problem. All speakers at our fingertips, so we can ask them to have a talk show, and we get panel discussions, and then a lot of things. You see, we keep busy ourselves with that, and it is definitely you see, the sharing of knowledge is a very important thing, which you all know. Well, I don't have to say that. But it is scarce in our countries or third world countries because they have the other problems to resolve. So they have a different problems with them, and we have a different problem. So we have to look. So I think it can only be done with the sharing of knowledge. So we must share knowledge, and this we must use this forum positively and frequently to do that. So thank you very much. You have done a lot of good job, I would say, Sana. So you are the perfect chair I have selected from Lahore and Punjab. So definitely you will also coordinate with other chairs. We have for one chair from Sindh. We have one chair from Pakhtunkhwa and one chair from Islamabad, Pindi. So, if you coordinate in between Pakistan, so you will have it. So I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to your next session in Urdu. Next session in Urdu. That is more important. That our 80% population lives in the villages. You see, they don't know English really. So only 20 out of 20%, only I could say 5 to 10% knows very well English. Others are just um, so struggling. So we must give them a chance. Those 80% people, those cannot speak English or cannot understand English very well. So they could come into the conference. They can present their ideas into the national languages. So this is not only for Pakistan, but for all countries that they will have their sessions in their own language and country language, and also in English. So with these words, I would thank the participants and speakers, my learned speakers, and definitely we will keep them in list, and we will particularly the digital technology one. We would like to have some training course, you see, designed for artists, so that she could give more out of her learning to the other people, artists. So in future, we will be in touch with them. So they are very much in our family, and they must join our family, you see. So family forum. Thank you very much, Sana, and thank you very much, everyone. See.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm really glad and honored to have this got these remarks from you, and I'll try my best to achieve and I will try my best to gather all other artists from the community to participate in this International Family Forum, as well as International Virtual Conference on Museums, because my next session is going to be in Urdu, as you know, and I'm planning it. I will be doing it after this session. But yeah, thank you so much, Sir Akhtar. And I would just like to add one thing here, that we have a question by Muhammad Arif. He asked me these questions for Ma'am Hashmi. So ma'am, if you would like to answer these questions. So he has asked that how can the role of museums in cultural resource management be enhanced to the peripheral areas of Pakistan? Number one question. And the second question is, should museums be essentially regarded as knowledge transmitters rather than knowledge generators?
Well, as you well know, these questions are not simple questions, nor are they brief questions. I suggest that you have a full session, which should all be about museums and their role, not just in Pakistan, but worldwide, because as I mentioned right in the beginning, museums' roles are changing, and they're changing radically. And they are being used both for knowledge generation and for being very proactive elements in communities. So that's a brief answer to very complicated questions. But I think we need another session all to us on that one. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sana.
So much. Thank you so much, Ma'am Hashmi, for sharing your valuable vision. We have always learned a lot from your experiences. Your energetic way of communication made this session more lively. And I would also like to thank Pradeep, Zil, Zille, Batul, Mena, and Sonia once again for their informative, inspiring presentations, as well as the participants for their time and active partaking in this conference. It was wonderful to have this conversation with you all, and I look forward to our next interaction soon. So thank you.
Thank you from my side, and we are really obliged for today's session. So thanks everyone, and especially for the audience. I really, did hard to actually invite everyone, and I think most of the people they joined and they really enjoyed because I've been receiving the messages from each of them. So I think it was a good success.
Yes, it was indeed. In fact, they can also watch the recording on YouTube because we will be uploading the recording of the session on YouTube, and I'll be sharing the links with you all.
Excellent.
Okay,
thank you so much for
you.
having us, Sana. Thank you.
Thank you.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Allah Hafiz.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.